Street circuit with its walls and its rough pavement. It can absolutely destroy a championship fight in a matter of seconds. But perhaps the greatest problem of all for each of the 9 contenders is that 8 of them see this race as a desperate. Surfers Paradise Australia, and the prize is the kart championship. With 2 races left, Gilles de Ferran leads the championship by 19 points and could clinch the title today. But de Ferran struggles down under with an average finish of 15th in 5 races. A poor finish will tighten the battle. Contenders Paul Tracy and Michael Andretti, both Australia winners, are ready to pounce if de Ferran labors. The Pacific coast of Australia, Surfers Paradise is the site for round number 19 of the Kart FedEx Championship Series, the Kart Grand Prix of Australia. In the championship fight, there are now 681 miles, 2 races left, and a historic 9 different contenders for the championship. Only one of those men, Gilles de Ferran, could in fact wrap the championship up today, but he must be very careful. A DNF here for de Ferran would be disastrous. Hello and welcome. I'm Paul Page. This track at Surfers is a temporary street circuit with its walls and its rough pavement. It can absolutely destroy a championship fight in a matter of seconds. But perhaps the greatest problem of all for each of the 9 contenders is that 8 of them see this race as a desperate last possibility for a championship, Parker.
And Paul, if the drivers finish the way they've lined up for today's race, Gilles de Ferran will be our new champion. De Ferran's strategy, he has to be conservative. He can't make a mistake on the track, have anything go wrong in the pits, or have a mechanical problem. For the rest of the drivers, the only way to take on de Ferran in the championship is to attack. And this place is brutal on equipment and drivers.
Let's send you down to Gary Gerald.
Paul, if there's a sleeper in this championship mix, it may well be the man in this pits. That's the defending series champion, Juan Montoya, who, despite the fact that he had 10 DNFs early in the season, has come on with an absolute vengeance of late with a win and a second in the last 2 races. With absolutely nothing at stake this weekend, he's been attacking this street circuit with reckless abandon, as evidenced this video and a confrontation yesterday with Adrian Fernandez. Should anything happen to de Ferran and he comes away without a point this weekend, and Montoya continues this late season surge, Juan Montoya may again be in the middle of a championship season-ending showdown 2 weeks from today. Paul?
And by taking the pole, Montoya snatched that critical point away from Gilles de Ferran and did it in the last few seconds of qualifying. So now de Ferran leads in the championship by 18 points with 9 possible contenders. He's got to go away from here leading by at least 4. Jan Beekes.
Well, Paul, you talk about that championship lead. You would think that Gilles de Ferran and the Penske team would be pretty relaxed. That has not been the case this weekend. You could cut the tension down here with a knife. They have come here on attack mode, as evidenced by the way that Gilles de Ferran attacked the course during qualifying, trying desperately to get that single championship point. And I can tell you why. The reason the Penske team is so focused this weekend, they want to wrap up the championship now before they go on to the 500-mile race in Fontana, where we know anything can happen at that race distance. Now, you talk about tension. Gilles de Ferran right now, as they pass us on the front straightaway for the final warm-up lap, has Montoya to his left and Paul Tracy right behind. There's no bigger pressure cooker than that.
So let's take a look at how they have qualified with 2 contenders on the front row, Juan Montoya on the pole, and Gilles de Ferran will start outside. Dario Franchitti is inside of row 3, and championship contender Paul Tracy on the outside. 2 contenders in row 3, Jimmy Vasser and Michael Andretti. In the 4th row, it's Tony Kanaan and championship contender Helio Castroneves. In the 5th row, Christian Fittipaldi and Cristiano D'Amata. The 6th row, Patrick Carpentier and Kenny Breck, who's a contender. In row 7, Alex Tagliani and Oriol Servia. The 8th row, Max Pappas and Michel Jourdain Jr. In row 9, championship contender Fernandez and Mauricio Guzman. The 10th row, Alex Barron, and the final of the 9 contenders, Roberto Moreno. Row 11, Shinji Nakano and Mark Blundell. The 12th row is Tarso Marquez and rookie Jason Bright from right here at the Gold Coast in Australia. And the last row is Luis Garcia Jr. 181 miles, 65 laps. 22 to 26 laps for the fuel stop. There are 4 former winners in the field.
And this is the second longest course on the FedEx Tour. It's also very, very fast. In 4 different sections, the drivers meet or exceed 180 miles an hour. Principal passing area, heading down into turn 1. Also look for passing opportunities in turn 3, also in turn 5. Keep in mind, this track is heavily crowned. At every single exit, the drivers are thrown off camber towards the concrete wall.
Looking through some of the onboard cameras that we have for you, of course, Mark Blundell, who will start well back, but this may give us some great opportunities to see some of the potential problems that you have on this circuit. The look back from Montoya. Gilles de Ferran, carrying number 2 for Roger Penske, hopes that this day goes so smoothly and ends up with his first championship, and certainly the Penske team is looking for the same thing, but because again of the circuit, which is so very difficult, and as you see there, so very tight, well, anything can happen at any second that can end the championship, and it's not unknown for them to have accidents that result in course blockages here. So all of those things loom.
And foremost on de Ferran and Team Penske's mind is padding their championship points lead with an additional 4 points to come out of here with the championship lead. But for now, de Ferran's got to think about having Montoya directly next to him and Team Green directly behind him. All Gilles de Ferran wants to do is get through the opening lap unscathed. Everybody else, they're going to take this opportunity to try to make a pass and move up in that championship fight.
As they come onto the pit straight, the field comes into order. Montoya slightly ahead of Gilles de Ferran on the outside. The green flag comes out. Paul Tracy looks to make a move early. He sweeps across the inside, and Montoya gets in trouble. Montoya gets in trouble, and does he damage de Ferran? It looks like he does. It looks like de Ferran's got a broken right front, and if he does, then yes, he definitely does, and the championship goes on to Fontana on this very first corner. Not really like we normally see from Montoya. Full course caution to the field. Montoya gets it sideways. Of course, we're going to have more opportunity to analyze the whole thing. Montoya is out of the car, but de Ferran is in trouble.
And I was very surprised, just as we cut away from that overhead shot, as the green came out, you could see de Ferran trying to take Montoya on the outside going into that first chicane. I would have thought Paul de Ferran would have dropped back, slotted in behind Montoya, and simply tried to lead the 2 Team Green cars down into that chicane. That is everything. That's exactly what you don't want to have happen.
Montoya just flat loses it, while at the same time Tracy is trying to make a move following up Montoya, and de Ferran gets into the melee and breaks the right front as a minimal piece of damage.
It was hard to tell from that angle, but it looked like, well, you could see the contact there, first with de Ferran to the right, maybe a little bit with Tracy from behind. We'll have to take another look at that.
And Franchitti spinning, something that we didn't see earlier. Both Carpentier and Jimmy Vasser decide to shortcut the chicane to stay away from it all. Franchitti is off to the left here, so we'll try and check on his condition. Moreno also shortcuts.
Okay, at this point you can see Montoya clearly has the inside. He moves over for a little protection. Watch de Ferran on the outside continue to try to go deeper under brake. Well, they're still under acceleration, but under braking here. This is what I saw just before we cut away. And it looks to me, Paul, like he may have gotten hit by Tracy, which then turned him into de Ferran. And then you can see the multiple contact through there as Michael then squeezes through between Vasser and Montoya.
So, we talked about the possibility of problems here at Surfers Paradise, the typical issues of a street circuit where the walls are only inches away all the way around. There they are. There is the championship, and it goes on. Here's another way to look at it.
I'm still surprised that Gilles would attempt to try to take Montoya.
Well, that joined a little bit late.
Yeah, we can't tell if he was already hit there. We can see obviously where the damage came from de Ferran as he went and clouded the back of Montoya's car. Everyone else in full avoidance mode. Some great driving there by Cristiano D'Amata and also by Elio Castroneves.
And one of the thing about those dotted lines, there are the curbs there. Here is it from Montoya.
Well, he was just obviously hit there. There's no doubt about it. That wasn't Montoya locking up the rears on corner entry. He simply got punted on the way into the chicane.
As you see, the curbs are beneath Montoya right now. And those are actually pretty stout, and those guys that passed over them could have some damage and not even see it until they get back and come on the front straight where the crews can look at them.
Well, it looks like the sequence of events there was DeFerrin touching Montoya, Tracy then getting into the back of Montoya after that initial contact, and everyone else just scrambling for their lives at this point. I thought it was very heads up of Montoya to come off the steering wheel, so we watched from his onboard, wait till the steering wheel had settled down so he didn't injure his hands or arms, then re-grab it, but unfortunately had no left front to continue and try to steer out of the way of the resulting mess.
3 of the contenders involved in that. The question is going to be that car, the green and white car of Paul Tracy, whether or not he suffered anything that it might rear its head here shortly. You can be assured the team's going to look all over that car, but as you see them line back up, Tracy will lead Andretti and Vassar. Those are all 3 contenders. Then Kanaan, D'Amata, Carpentier, and Elio Castroneves, another contender, down at 8, followed by Servia and Tagliani. That rounds out the top 10.
Well, we were looking at some of the statistics last night. Gary mentioned Montoya's DNFs at the opening of the show, and he's formed a pattern so far this year, completely out of his control. He's had 3 DNFs, then he completes 3 races, 3 DNFs, and this has gone on all season. Well, with the last race at Houston, he had just completed his 3rd race. We were talking about it last night, and looking at the statistical analysis, this would be the first of at least 2 DNFs as we complete the season for Juan Montoya.
Gilles DeFerrin comes all the way through the pit area down to the very last pit, the Penske pit. And my assumption, I would think that they will try and repair it.
Well, certainly they will. We've seen in the past strange things here happen at Surfers. A lot of cars end up falling out, especially in the waning laps of the race. They're going to try to get that car back on board and get him back out. Watch Montoya now. This'll be it right here, Paul. Oh, he got clouded on the way into the chicane.
Let's go to Jan Beekes.
Well, Chip Ganassi has seen those same replays. What's your take on the accident, Chip?
I don't know. I mean, Juan just said he got hit from behind. You saw what I saw.
I've seen your excitement this weekend. You truly thought you had a championship chance here, didn't you?
Well, I mean, we thought, we thought we had some wins left in us. And, it's been one of those years where we've been plenty fast and we've led a bunch of races and, we've finally got everything working the way we want it to work. And I think we had a chance to win today, and it's obviously a huge disappointment what happened down there in turn 1.
Thank you, Chip. Let's check in with Gary.
And right behind you, Juan has made his way back. What was your plan going into the first chicane at the start of this race?
Just lead, very simple. They told us to do a smooth start. I did that. Everybody was packed up, and I don't know exactly what happened. So, I think, Gio was very fast down the straight, even I went before him. I braked later than him. I was downshifting, and so I felt that something hit me in the back. So it's a shame, The car been fantastic all weekend, Everybody here in Target and Toyota worked, basically as hard as they could.
An indication of 1 lap to go until they go green. They work feverishly on Gilles DeFerrin's car. And the lineup was Tracy, Andretti, Vassar, Kanaan, Fittipaldi, D'Amata, Carpentier, Castroneves, Servia, and Tagliani. Jan Beekes.
Gilles DeFerrin is out of his car. He has the helmet on. He now, for the first time, has just explained the situation to Roger Penske. He sat here for a minute or 2 before he even spoke with anyone on the crew. He knows that the chances of clinching a championship are gone for this race, and now he just sits and waits as the crew does. And this will be a very lengthy repair, by the way, Paul. This will be very long, but he is hoping that maybe with attrition today, there's some maybe slim chance of getting 1 or 2 championship points.
Gary Gerald.
And with Dario Franchitti, you've just now had an opportunity to watch a sequence of replays. Dario, what can you tell us from your second row starting position as to happen?
Well, I think I need some more replays to figure it out. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on there. What I saw was Juan and Gilles getting together. Juan made a perfect start. This is the kind of start that the guys from CART wanted him to make. A nice, consistent build-up. Past couple of starts have been like that, and we've had problems both times, so maybe it's not working. But Juan made a good start. Him and Gilles got close in the first corner. I guess, from that point, I can't say. I saw Juan going into a spin. I backed up, got on the brakes, and I guess Jimmy had nowhere to go and hit me. Everybody was pretty much checking up for the incident in front, and yet again we're the ones that get caught out. So
how worried were you about this happening on the start of this race?
I was pretty worried about it. Paul was weaving around. Paul was being very aggressive as usual. Didn't give me much room as he cut across the front, but that wasn't anything to do with the incident. This is just unfortunate. It's tough.
Thank you. We're about to go green. Paul?
I think the point's well taken that they did bring them down to the flag, and the drivers have been discussing this constantly. They brought them down to the flag properly, but as one would expect here with a championship on the line, we saw some very aggressive movement.
Well, we certainly saw that from Paul Tracy. Montoya with a great start, as Dario said. Amazing to me that Gilles de Ferran was able to outpower him all the way down the straightaway, going into the outside of that first corner. Unfortunately, we're missing about 2 or 3 frames of critical information to see exactly what triggered that incident. But as Dario said, whatever it was, there was an awful lot going on there. De Ferran's championship hopes for today, anyway, are over.
They will come back to the flag single file, led by Tracy, then Andretti, Vassar, and Tony Kanaan. No indication from Team Green as to whether or not, with all of that contact, there's any problems for Paul Tracy. They certainly have not brought the car in. And the green flag is out. Here we go again. It's the start of the 4th lap. Boy, Tracy got a big jump on the start. Down through the first chicane, Michael Andretti in pursuit. There's Jimmy Vassar. This time the whole field safely through. Now to the second chicane, critical passing area coming up. Got a glimpse of Elio Castroneves, the second Penske car, who as a result of the accident got pushed well back. Gary Gerald, what about Paul Tracy?
Well, we just checked with Barry Green, and he says Paul reported absolutely no contact. Now, I don't know if that's contrary to what you've seen in your replays or not. We haven't had the luxury of seeing those, Paul, but they seem not to be concerned at all, and we think everything is all right now as we're back under Green and Tracy's out in front.
Jimmy Vassar just had to take a jump right through the middle of the chicane. We're trying to get a good look at Paul Tracy's car. I haven't seen anything that really shows contact. No giant black marks on the nose. Certainly nothing else that would indicate it, Jan.
Yes, stepping back to Gilles de Ferran, I was just told by the Penske team that this repair now, they are estimating to be a 15 to 20 minute job. So basically, if they don't have a whole lot of more people fall out of this race, it may be for nothing.
You got a glimpse, too, of Jimmy Vassar and damage on the front wing on the right side.
And we saw that there. It also looked like he had something wrapped around that leading edge, certainly dangling below the main plane there. And it's those few frames that we're missing on that starting incident. It would tell us if it was de Ferran and Montoya without Tracy's help that caused that entire incident, or if Paul was involved as well. But we saw one shot there, Paul, where it looked like Tracy may have been about a half a car length back and in fact not been involved in that incident at all.
Now back at 3rd place, Tony Kanaan is working hard on Jimmy Vassar, has the rest of the field lined up behind him. Fittipaldi, DeMata, Carpentier. Tracy's managed to pull away. Not unexpected. One given what he feels is necessary to accomplish if he is going to go on to his first championship. And the fact that he came back to the restart. Look at the lead there. That's 3.3 seconds on this track. Michael, though, is in hot pursuit. Now Fittipaldi works on Tony Kanaan. Both Kanaan and Fittipaldi climb on the curbs.
And entering the back section of this course, turns 8 through 11 are the only sections of the course that don't have line of sight. It's traditional concrete walls right to the asphalt. Now, drivers also have a problem as the day goes on. They're going in and out of the shadows, looking directly into the sun as they go through that back section. You can see some of the glare off the camera shot there.
Yeah, there you saw really one of the only areas where they've really been able to open it up. They made a minor modification to turn 9, which gave about 2 feet more visibility of the drivers as they made the left-hand turn into 9. That's the pit straight down into the first chicane, first turn.
And on that lap, Paul Tracy's now pulled out 5.6 seconds over Michael Andretti. Keep in mind, Paul won back here in 1995, and who was his teammate at the time?
Somebody sitting near me?
No, absolutely not. It was Michael Andretti at Newman Haas at the time, who's currently in 2nd place, but Paul Tracy is just checked out.
They'll be back as teammates next year, kind of.
Well, technical partners.
right, let's go back down to Gary Gerald.
As far as Michael Andretti is concerned, in the morning warm-up of a half hour, they only got 5 or 6 laps and had an oil leak develop. Peter Gibbons told us as they were making repairs after that session, it was not a major problem. But what it did do for Michael was deny him an opportunity to make sure that everything in the car was set the way he'd want it for race conditions. We're also, I think, guys, running under the highest ambient temperature that we've had thus far this weekend. Ideal conditions, but all in all, that may be hurting Michael a little bit in the early going as he's fallen 5-6 seconds off the pace.
They didn't have the normal period of time that they would have had, owing to the fact that it was a typical tropical day on Friday here, with some rain shower activity going through the area, and that affected the first qualifying and the morning practice as well. In fact, for a long time, no one wanted to go out and test the walls on the practice sessions. Then yesterday, temperatures went up into the 80s with bright sunshine, but very, very strong winds, east to west, crosswinds. Fittipaldi works Kanaan.
Boy, you
and
can
still working him. Oh, Kanaan locks him up and drops in behind Fittipaldi. Good move for Christian.
That was quite the drag race. You could see Ford Power versus Mercedes there. Christian got a good run coming off the corner onto the pit straightaway, drafted up behind Tony and just motored on by. Tony not giving up, braking very late into that chicane, and now Cristiano D'Amata all over the back of Tony Kanaan.
D'Amata, that little pit bull who just, 127 pounds with driver's suit and perspiration, and he's not what you want behind you anywhere. The rumors about him still go on. No official announcement for where he is going to drive next year.
We saw behind that fight in that last corner, Castroneves and Oriol Servia were side by side.
Castroneves starts out, but he's not close enough to Servia to make the move. At the same time,
Helio Castroneves very disappointed with his qualifying efforts. He said every time he started to come up to perfect timing on the tires, putting in a good lap, it would go red flag. Frustration felt by a lot of the drivers this weekend. The course is so long, you've got to hit it just right. Castroneves says, I've got a car, I can get to the front.
I'm going to say with Castroneves, right behind him is Alex Tagliani. And with that one move, it cost Castroneves a little bit, and Tagliani came right up to attack. 500, Bobby Labonte points leader is going to start 6th. Nemechek is on the pole with Billy Elliott going to start alongside. Back at Surfers Paradise, Australia, the view is Christian Fittipaldi as he's up now to try to work on Jimmy Vasser. Vasser is currently 3rd. You got a glimpse of Michael Andretti. Vasser, Andretti, Tracy, the top 3, with Tracy leading it, and all 3 of those contenders in the championship battle. Since we went away, no changes on the track at all. Crowd here, kart reporting a record crowd for a kart event, over 250,000 over the time of the event. The Australians approach their spectatorship, if that's a word, of the viewing of these races a little bit differently than elsewhere in the world. They love to walk the circuit constantly. In fact, some grandstands are just set so that you can in fact do that. No reserved seating. You can walk place to place, one corner for 10 minutes, go further, walk the entire circuit by the time the day's over. Battle for 3rd. Vasser, Fittipaldi working. Tracy has pulled out nearly 10 seconds on Michael Andretti. Andretti has 3 over Vasser.
With those early laps of yellow, the drivers aren't concerned about fuel. The math is simple. You just have to go to lap 22, do that one more time, and you get to the end. 2-stop race. From what we've heard over the radio, most of the drivers have it up on full rich, full power. And you can see Paul continue to extend that gap over Michael Andretti.
Tracy used to talk about getting into the zone. He's got to be in the zone now. Last time across the line, he extended again another 10th, his lead over Michael Andretti.
Christian Fittipaldi, remember back in 1997, had that opening lap accident with Gilles de Ferran. Missed 7 races, broke his leg fairly severely, but you can see in certain sections of this course, Jimmy Vasser comes off that quick back chicane very fast. He comes onto the pit straightaway very fast. The one place where Christian is much quicker is off of turn 4, coming onto that short back chute. Christian's got to really concentrate on getting through this section out of turn 12 well so that he can stay right up behind Jimmy through the first 2 chicanes to really maximize that advantage coming onto that back chute to try to get that pass done down into turn 5.
You know, that accident involving Christian speaks volumes about the stamina and the perseverance of the race car driver. That might have been crutches today for the likes of any civilian. But not only did he come back from it and come back to win it, eventually his first champ car race, but he's also a triathlete and loves to run. I mean, he's an incredible athlete.
The thing that was amazing is his leg was badly broken.
Oh, what is this? Paul Tracy.
He is off and he has stalled the engine.
That certainly has to be down in one of the runoffs. Yes, it is. First report coming in is what? Throttle stuck on the car and he just had to shut it down?
And keep in mind, these cars have software that will automatically shut the throttle down if it senses that they get to the point that they should be in the braking area. The driver has released pressure from the throttle, is on the brake, and it's not decelerating. The engine management system will shut the car down.
And because of his positioning, they do go to the full course caution. Pace car will come out.
It's going to be a full course yellow, but keep going, keep going.
And he just ran right off. It looked like he was trying to get on the brakes and get the car stopped, which he eventually did, of course. That'll open the pits, and that'll bring, I would suspect, everyone in the field with the possible exception of Roberto Moreno in for fuel and tires. 11th lap.
Now the problem they have is that if he has shut the engine off, or it has been shut off by the engine management system, if they've get this thing restarted, it's going to restart wide open throttle. If it's a mechanical problem, he's going to have to then figure out how to toggle the ignition to get the thing back to the pit lane to get that problem fixed, or it may clear itself and he'll have to reboot the system. We can see everyone coming into the pits.
One of the contenders is in. Fernandez, Roberto Moreno's teammate, comes in. They're going to bring Roberto Moreno in as well, so any advantage that they had hoped for there goes away with this full course caution. Kenny Breck is already back into the fight. Jan Vikas.
Michael Andretti has a communication problem right now. Obviously, it's very important that he understands the crew. They want him here on pit road. He cannot hear the team at the moment.
Roberto Moreno, they got Paul Tracy running. Roberto Moreno, as he started his turn into the pit, Alex Barron roared out. Moreno had to jump all over the brakes, actually stopped the car. Got the car in a very awkward position, but they were able to refuel it and get it back on its way. But Paul Tracy got it started without incident and is now coming back into the fight. Gary Gerald, do they have any idea what happened?
Can you tell us what happened, Kim? We heard a report of a possible throttle linkage problem or sticking.
Well, he certainly went into a braking area and hard under brakes, and the throttle stuck wide open. So he had a bit of a panic situation. The throttle appears to be okay now, so it's probably something electronic. We're going to fire him up. We got him fired back up, get him back in here, and try and get back in this thing, because the car was fantastic up until that point.
All right, thank you, Kim. Jan?
Gary, we talked about Michael Andretti and the radio problem. It turns out it was even more crucial than we thought. They desperately wanted him to come on pit road for service. He could not hear, so therefore he missed the opportunity to come onto pit road. Now they have to change their strategy. They've told him to change the fuel map, to stay out, and they'll hope for another opportunity later on.
So the second full course caution of the day at Surfers Paradise, Australia. The car. It's a place that the drivers of the champ cars and their teams love to come. Surfers Paradise, Australia, the land down under on the Pacific coast of Australia. Since we have left you, nothing has changed. Michael has edged out a little bit over Jimmy Vasser, 1.3 seconds now. Paul Tracy continues to try to work the field as you saw him go around Mark Blundell and move into 16th place. He's not moved up since that point. He's obviously playing it very, very careful.
Michael Andretti's already had 2 mechanical problems during the course of the weekend. He broke a transmission, also had a throttle cable fail. You can see how rough this course is. It's not helped by the fact that most of the drivers jump the curbs as well. So Michael's got to take care of this car in order to stay in the championship fight. But he knows that Paul Tracy is coming through this field, turning the race's fastest laps, lap after lap.
There's the backstretch down the Esplanade. Runs parallel to the beaches here at Surfers. Focus on the battle for second place, Vassar and Fittipaldi.
No, Paul, we've talked a lot about the Drivers' Championship. We haven't talked about the Manufacturers' Championship. Coming into this weekend, only 3 points separated Ford, Cosworth, and Honda, 293 to 290. We looked at the beginning of this race, looked at the grid, the top 5 cars, Toyotas and Hondas, but very quickly with the elimination of Montoya, look at the elimination of Franchitti, Tracy dropping back. Now we've got Ford, Toyota with Vassar, another Ford with Fittipaldi, and then Mercedes with Kanaan. Great run by that team. And also Cristiano D'Amata in his Toyota-powered car in 5th place. Starts to change the complexion of the Manufacturers' Championship during the course of the Surfers race.
You know, a lot of people are asking, there was such a focus on the silly season for a while there, and you expected all kinds of stuff to happen, and then it just all stopped. Why did it stop? Well, for the most part, it stopped because suddenly Mercedes said, we're not in the series next year. Those engines are not going to be available, and so now everybody had to rethink what they were doing, and the seats have suddenly gotten a little more scarce.
There are also several drivers that haven't been committed yet officially to a team. And until those drivers move, and the engine manufacturers may or may not move with them, everything has just been put on hold.
The report is about 2.5 laps. Michael Andretti should be coming into the pits. Don't forget the communication problems. The jury rig board to help Michael and communicate with him. Think how critical that can be. This is a very long circuit, nearly 3 miles around. And you can't miss that fuel stop at all. It's not like you're going to be able to coast in because you missed one.
You can see Cristiano D'Amata there getting around the inside of Tony Kanaan. Now Cristiano's teammate Oriol Servia looking for a way around Kanaan. Cristiano's been trying to set him up, coming off that back straightaway, lap after lap after lap. Finally got a great run out of the back chicane. Got him under braking for turn number 7.
Servia tucks in, working Kanaan. Kanaan is one of those who now has apparently the confidence that he is fine for next year with Morris-Nunn Racing. And Monon's talking about a second car for that group. Carpentier started to make a move to the inside of Servia. He's there. And right behind him, there's Castro Neves and Jourdain Jr.
Carpentier, one of the drivers, not sure where he may or may not drive. We'll take a replay here. Coming out of 7, D'Amata gets a great run, looks down on the inside, going into turn 8. Tony knows that he's got the corner, doesn't try to put a wheel underneath him, knows that this is a long race, a lot can happen. Lets him through there.
Oriol Servia tries to get in there as well. I was trying to figure out how I can make a joke out of the words Tony knows.
Okay, so anyway, we're talking about Carpentier. He's had some great performances recently. Talked to him the last few days. He said things are looking better for next year. He's got a couple of different opportunities. Doesn't know where he might find that ride, but is fairly confident he will be back next year in this series.
Tony Kanaan, maybe with the greatest sense of humor of any of the drivers in the series. For a long while, everybody was hesitant to mention to him the fact that he has a Jimmy Durante kind of schnoz going for him there.
And his nickname?
Is, well, the one that he won't answer to is Rudder. But then he finally did a little television feature on himself, and of course we all decided it was instantly fair game to go right after him. He's a great guy, though. Andretti now just 2 seconds ahead. And next time by is a guess for Andretti. From our location, we can't see that jury rig board. We can assure you that Gary and Jan are keeping track of everything that goes on down there.
And let's say we're trying, Paul.
I can tell you, Paul, that Tony Kanaan's crew has laid out. Michael's has not. When you hear on the scanners pit 2, it goes 2-1 and then pit. So there's actually one additional lap in those radio communications before they hit the pit road.
You just saw in replay that Paul Tracy is continuing to nibble his way forward. That was a move around Shinji Nakano for 16th, putting Tracy now in 15th.
And you can see Nakano took him very, very deep into that corner. Paul had to lock up the brakes, did a couple of tank slappers on the way in, but got the pass done.
Back with the leader, Michael Andretti.
Hear Michael lock up the tires there. That's something you don't often hear from racing slicks, is the squeal.
Michael Andretti, one of the former winners in the field. Remember that great run? Taking Swift to its first victory.
And remember, Michael Andretti gave Renard its first victory here back in 1994 on his return from Formula One. Drove his...
When you enter the pit lane.
So Michael Andretti, one more lap to go, and he will be in, assuming, of course, that all that communication is going well. Michael Andretti due in. He will come in on up for Michel Jourdain. The PPI team of Cal Wells is laid out for both Oriol Servia and Cristiano D'Amata. Michael Andretti's on the pit road. He flips his visor high, and Gary, you wait for him.
Tim Coffeen, who wears the helmet cam, will be at the right front, waves him into position. Here's Michael. We still don't know if he can hear Kenny Seawick on the radio talking to him. First set of Firestones being changed for the day. That's complete. Waiting for the fuel. Revs come up. Michael rolls. We've got him at 12 seconds flat. His teammate, Christian Fittipaldi, right behind him, is right out in sequence.
For those two, it's routine. Tarso Marquez, you'll see him go by there. Cristiano D'Amata is underway. So is Oriol Servia. So is Michel Jourdain Jr. So Michael Andretti relinquishes the lead. Jimmy Vasser picks it up. With a stop on the 24th lap at Surfers Paradise.
Remember, it was only a couple of weeks ago we saw Jimmy drive that great race at Houston, won Toyota's first street course victory. And it had been a long time since Jimmy had been on top of the winner's podium, back to '98 at Fontana. Very, very, very rarely ever makes a mistake. One of those drivers, the more pressure that's on him, the better that he performs. Best line of the weekend is he just wanted to give Juan Montoya a going away present before he's off to Formula One.
Tracy drops it down to the speed limit. Jimmy Vasser brings it down to the speed limit. Paul Tracy has managed to work his way now up to 12th. Jan Vikas.
Yes, we wait for Jimmy Vasser. We've seen a 12-second stop for Michael, 11.8 for Kanaan. We'll see what this Target Ganassi team can do. Now, he certainly has damage on the left front wing. He's made some contact with someone, and I would imagine because of that, that's why they're adding front wing on the right side and took it out on the left. A little bit slow to get it back in gear, but still under 12 seconds for Vasser.
Left front to Jan, right front to Jimmy Vasser. And the field comes by. And Vasser slots in ahead of Roberto, who is going to try to get around him. And Jimmy's, with those fresh tires, going to have to tiptoe to keep that car ahead of Roberto Moreno.
We can see a little bit of contact as they came into that second chicane. Jimmy just has to drive. He's giving it to him now. I thought he was going to drive down the inside there, continuing to try to build tire pressure and tire temp. Because once he's given that position away, it's going to be very difficult to get it back. And he's got someone directly behind him who wants to get back into the lead of this race, Michael Andretti.
Michael is right there.
We mentioned the damage on Jimmy Vasser. That occurred on the first lap, the opening lap incident.
Carpentier takes a run off into one of the runoff areas. All the cars do have to carry by the rules reverse gear when they're running on a road course. And Carpentier uses it and goes back to the fight. Carpentier was running 15th.
And if they go down those runoff areas, there's a set of cones to delineate where it's safe for the driver to back up under his own power. If he goes any further, then he has to be assisted by the course workers to be reversed and sent back out.
I wonder if that wasn't another one of those throttle things, because it seemed like he knew he was in trouble way, way down the course.
Well, he's got Cristiano D'Amata looking down the inside of him here. He's trying to defend the position, but the problem, Paul, he's right on the crown of the road. The car can get high-centered, lock up the wheels. You have no control.
Jan Vikas.
Castro Neves getting his service. Of course, the lone hope of the Penske team right now. 9 seconds and counting. Stay clear. Oh, that's the best one so far. 10.6 for Castro Neves.
Penske cars are both situated in the last two pits before the pit exit. So now Castro Neves coming out as the field comes by, finds himself in the same situation of trying to keep cold tires working while he has Oriol Servia, who stopped 2 laps ago on tires that are up at operating temperature, working him very hard. And Servia finally gets past him.
You would never know these guys.
Whoa, baby, I can get it turned.
Low tire pressure. They're cold there, Elio.
He pulled off line, though. He's pulled totally off the line.
And it looked like the right side wheel had hiked up off the ground as he turned in there. I'm trying to see if all the tires are up and they're secure on the car.
The left rear on the rear shot
Okay, we can't see.
looked like it might not have a full load of air in it.
Well, he and Oriol banged wheels a little bit.
Jan Beekes.
According to the team, CART officials have come over and told them there was contact with Servia, and they do have damaged suspension. We expect to see Castroneves back here on pit road. So that's 2 Penske cars with contact and rear-end suspension.
Now, the focus is on that left rear.
Make it around here.
And it works on the diagonal. You can see it. It's definitely gone flat now. He's completely lost that left rear. It works on the diagonal. As that goes down, it'll hike up that right front tire. And I was about to say it looked like you couldn't tell that these guys were driving open-wheel cars the way they were leaning on each other. But this is one of the reasons why you can't get away with that.
So another one of the contenders in the championship, Elio Castroneves, finds himself in trouble. And another contender in the championship, with the last of the stops now complete for the first cycle of stop, Kenny Breck, the new rookie of the year, is in front. So Kenny Breck brings himself into this fight as the leader of the race. There's a fine battle going on in Surfers Paradise, Australia. Paul Tracy has now managed to work his way up to 5th place. Kenny Breck is the leader, but the fuel strategy is at play. Jan Beekes?
Well, an update on Castroneves. The tire is back here on pit road. If you look carefully, you see some green paint mark here. It turned out there was not suspension damage for Castroneves, but of course green, that is the color of Oriol Servia. It appears as though his wing or side of the car cut the tire, and that's the result.
Now, normally when you see those tires, you want to see a slightly convex shape. And the left rear was almost straight across, which is not the shape you wanted to see. That indicated to us that the tire had, in fact, had a problem, and then it started to shred itself on the way back in, but Castroneves was able to get it to the pits, and fortunately it didn't do a lot of damage. Paul Tracy continues on the charge. That is 4th place Adrian Fernandez, just ahead of him. Adrian, another one of the contenders in this championship as they came into the race this weekend.
With the variance in pit strategy right now, and when they've pitted, of course, Paul Tracy moved up as the leaders came in. I think I'm most impressed with, you notice they got by Shinji Nakano a number of laps ago, but Shinji has been hanging on the entire time, working with Paul coming up through the field.
Breck, Tagliani, Barron. Again, the fuel strategy. Different people stopping at different times, having an impact on the overall order.
We expect Kenny Breck to come in on lap 38, so about 7-8 laps from now.
With 65 laps, the scheduled distance just over 181 miles. The championship fight in full play. DeFerrin out of it for this race, but still the points leader as they sit now, with Paul Tracy in 2nd place and Adrian Fernandez, who's just in front of Tracy on the track. Well, that's Adrian sitting there in 3rd in the points at this moment.
Fernandez started 17th, currently 4th. The Pat Patrick team, the last number of races, has had a lot of problems qualifying, but yet when the race starts, these cars have worked very, very well. Jim McGee leading that team with fuel strategy has gotten them off strategy. They've posted some good results, but it's been very frustrating for the drivers and the entire team not to be able to start up at the front in order to get the most out of these cars.
The corner workers here have been alerted to keep an eye on Christian Fittipaldi. They thought they saw some spray at the back of the car.
Paul Tracy's car working particularly well under braking. Doesn't come off the corner quite as well as Adrian's been coming off. Paul being very aggressive on the brakes, very quick through these 2 chicanes down the pit straight.
Tarso Marquez got in trouble, had a quick spin, didn't hit anything, was able to continue on. Marquez is running 22nd.
You'll see Paul down at the back section of the course going through turns 3 and 4. He'll close right up on Adrian. He just can't get close enough to make a pass stick coming off the final corner going onto the back straightaway.
Boy, plenty of traffic there. From Paradise, Australia, Paul Page with Parker Johnstone, Gary Gerald, Jan Beekes are in the pits. Nothing's changed in the last few laps, with the exception that now the course workers have been alerted to watch both of the Newman-Haas cars, both Michael Andretti and Christian Fittipaldi, for possible spray at the back of the car.
Mentioned a little earlier, Michael Andretti already had a gearbox problem this weekend. And as we've been watching these cars, including Paul Tracy, Michael Andretti, normally very aggressive over the curbs here at Surfers. These guys now, as we now just past the halfway point, are being very careful with the curbs. We saw Michael up on the curb, Christian a little farther down, watching Paul Tracy staying almost completely off the curbs because the gearboxes have been so fragile all year long, to say nothing of suspension components and other related parts hanging in the side pods and onto the engine.
Andretti and Fittipaldi currently run 10th and 11th behind 9th place Jimmy Vasser, that three-car battle there. Michael's problem, while certainly gearbox related, was more shift linkage related. Car locked in gear, he couldn't get it out of gear. And when they got it into the pits, they worked on it just a little bit and finally got linkage going. So it's not like he had a gearbox that went to pieces on him.
But this place is so bumpy, even down the straightaways. The cars really take a pounding. Drivers have to be very, very careful with the equipment here. And we have seen during the course of the season a lot of mechanical failures, much more than we would have ever suspected considering the amount of testing and preparation that these teams have.
Kenny Breck, the leader. There's Tagliani, second place. Now remember, neither of those guys have raced here.
Well, that certainly didn't stop Kenny Breck right from the initial green flag on Friday morning. He just took off. We've seen that so many times this year. He tries to play the rookie card a little bit, saying, well, gee, it's my first time at the circuit. But that guy drives so hard every single lap. And within a handful of laps, he was right at the top of the charts.
Luis Garcia Jr., currently 21st. Routine and away. So with 35 laps, let's start to think about this halfway point in the race and how this fuel strategy plays to the end. It's going to make for an interesting, like lap 60 through 65, I would think. That's Jason Bright. And the crowd here has been particularly partial to him, cheering him on every time he does anything at all, as one would expect. Hometown boy.
He's been on the podium 5 times so far this year in Indy Lights. Used to live just 3 miles south of the circuit until this year when he moved to the States to run in Indy Lights for the Doricott Racing Team. Sponsored by the government here in Australia to the tune of $300 Australian, or $300,000 Australian. It's good work if you can get it.
I think anytime the government pays your way, that's a very, very good thing. Breck, Tagliani, Barron, top 3. It'll change. Tracy is kind of plateaued behind Adrian Fernandez at 5th place. This car, Jason Bright races, of course, John Della Penance, based as so many of the Champ Car teams are in Indianapolis, Indiana. In fact, most of them in probably a 3 square mile area. So most of these teams will end up going to lunch at many of the same places, which then in turn makes for some fascinating lunchtime conversation. No fist fights reported yet.
I've been watching the quickest laps. Alex Tagliani consistently very quick. And his teammate, Patrick Carpente, down in 17th place. The fastest car on the track now, consistently turning laps nearly a full second faster than anyone else.
Patrick Carpentier, who does still, this of course is Tagliani, but Patrick Carpentier, who still looks for his first win. Tarso Marquez lets Tagliani through. One of those drivers who looks for a seat next year. A lot of indication that he will get something. He certainly is deserving and can probably give whoever will pick him up an excellent ride next year. Kenny Breck on the pit road. So again, the fuel strategy starts to work, Jan.
Yes, it does. And of course, anytime you stop under green, time is so important in these stops, but they will wait for every bit of fuel. If we watch the top, wait for fuel to go in the pit hose. How's that for revs? 13.3. I tell you, this is a lot of fun.
You like that one, eh, Jan?
I do. And Tagliani's going to be here in a second.
Roberto Moreno is in. Gary?
Perfectly hitting the marks. Moreno right there. They're not expecting any changes on the car, even though in the last 5 laps, Roberto has said the car has been loose under braking, waiting for the fueling to be completed as they pass 11, now 12 seconds. He starts to roll, hesitates, now gets rolling. He lost a couple of seconds, and he may have lost a position. Somebody went by. It could have been Max Pappas on pit road.
That's exactly who it was. Max Pappas got a nose in front of Moreno. Moreno came in from 10th. Tagliani picks up the lead, but look, they may have carried him too far on fuel. He's shaking the car, trying to get fuel to come down into the engine. Alex Barron was in second place. Oh, he is way, way, way far away from the pit. And he's decided apparently he's too far away.
Reports are now that the engine is off.
We ran out of fuel.
Alec Timmerman.
And you've got to be so careful here. Only Elkhart Lake is longer for any of the courses that's FedEx. Oh, here's Mark Blundell stopped in the middle of the course. That the FedEx cars go to, the drivers have a digital readout to know how much fuel's left in the car, but that's if the car's picking up everything it says it has left in the tank.
Mark Blundell wants help. He wants somebody to get out there, get him going again, and showing his frustration that it's not happening.
Down the inside of Max Pappas here. Max, I guess, didn't know he was there. But the funny thing is Mark didn't complete the turn. That's what I find so surprising. He snapped it around and stalled it.
Gary Gerald.
Adrian Fernandez is in for service. Paul Tracy just rolled in front of him. He's 4 pits up the line. Here goes Fernandez. We'll keep an eye on Tracy. He gets out in front of Barron. They both beat Tracy out. Tracy rolls routinely.
One more tearaway gone for Paul Tracy as he makes his stop. Fernandez comes cleanly back into the traffic alongside of Carpentier, but again, the cold tires. There was Alex Barron.
And now Paul Tracy gets through. Fernandez, everything that they had in the pit stop, Tracy was hoping to make up. He takes care of on the way out of the pits. I'm surprised now, Paul, that Fernandez has dropped so far back.
Well, they came into the pits with Tracy as the leader, owing to the stops by Breck and, for that matter, Barron, and the problem then with Tagliani, with Fernandez right behind him. But you see that Tracy came out of the pits and was immediately able to at least make the position on Fernandez. That's Carpentier that sits just ahead of him. And so we'll see where this thing's going to go. There's a Kroger segment focuses on the difficulties of transporting all of the needed equipment overseas for the race in Australia. 3 FedEx MD-11s are loaded up with $70 million worth of equipment on board. 50 race cars, 2 safety trucks, 1 pace car, and over 1,200 Firestone tires. Each 2-car team is allowed 4 race cars, 4 engines, 8 toolboxes, 2 scoring stands, 35 fire suits, and the other necessities to fully compete on a race weekend. Well, in Surfers Paradise, Australia, we do expect stops. We expect a good many of them as soon as they bring the field around to the pit straight itself. It took a few minutes to get the field actually closed up behind the pace car. There they go through the turn 11 and 12 complex, and that'll bring them onto the pit straight. Interesting configuration, lower left-hand corner there. That's one of the sky boxes, and it is built over the racetrack. Can you imagine the view that some of those folks have? Now, the pits are still closed despite the fact that they do have the field pretty well gathered up. So it'll be another full lap before they come in. Well, you can see there is, in fact, an interval, and now the remainder of the field actually sliding in, so they have another full lap to go before they'll be able to come in. Jan Beekes?
Well, there's been some high-fiving going on down here in Jimmy Vassar's pit. Because the pits are still closed, they get one more lap around the racetrack, meaning that this stop that they take will mean they'll make it to the end on fuel, exactly what they wanted.
The Jimmy Vassar's crew waits. It's not a totally good as used to soldier in there and continues to lead in the Budweiser Hard Charger Award. This was Michael. And with that runoff, it ended his race. It also finally numerically ended any chance of a championship. So Michael Andretti and Juan Montoya, part of the 9 that started, are now out of the championship fight. And next time by, Parker, we expect the entire field to come in as we give you the race recap at this point. Well, here at Surfers Paradise, you may see that entire field hit the pits.
I would think they would have to, Paul, because at this point they can go to the end. This will be the final stop. It's not going to be easy, but we should see everyone coming into the pits right now.
But you know, the interesting thing is guys that have a lot of fuel on board, like Paul Tracy, will take no tires, just a splash, and it'll be ultra fast on pit road.
This is interesting. It's not going to be everybody. Jan Beekes.
Well, we wait for the leader, Jimmy Vassar. He's going to have to go around the tires of Tony Kanaan. He does so successfully. Now he'll need a fair bit of fuel because this was perfect for him and his timing. We look for people going by. Let's go to Gary and watch Christian.
Tracy's already gone. Tracy's beaten Fittipaldi, and he may have beaten Vassar out as well.
Well, Vassar got beat by all kinds of guys, Gary.
Yeah, you saw, there's Tracy, and you saw Fittipaldi come by shortly thereafter, and then finally Jimmy Vassar was able to roll.
And I talked to the Firestone guys this morning, and Jan, I think you're absolutely right. They said this is the same tire compound they use at Vancouver. They said if someone wanted to double stint a set of tires, it would be no problem.
Yeah, and I also think it was a situation where Jimmy Vassar took all the fuel, took 4 tires, what you might call a conservative pit stop. The other guys gambled and picked up all kinds of track position. I would say that was a smart move.
And unlike we suggested, there were a number of cars that did stay out. They are now effectively in front of the race. Luis Garcia Jr. is actually the guy lined up directly behind the pace car right now. So they should go back very shortly to green flag. Cows in the pasture, more of the beautiful, beautiful sights here in Australia. They're not racing. Blundell's just trying to keep with them. The green flag should come out from this full course caution at the end of this lap. And they will be lined up Fernandez, Barron, Moreno, Pappas, Bright, Breck. That's the top 6. Then come Tracy and Fittipaldi, Jimmy Vassar, and Cristiano D'Amata.
The big gamble here by Pat Patrick. He did not bring his cars in on that last stop. They have got 6 laps fewer remaining in the tank than anyone else. That's going to be a real stretch to get to the end unless this becomes a timed race or we have additional yellow before the checkered flag.
And Parker, back before that round of stops, the Patrick team was estimating they were going to be about 4 laps short on fuel. They needed yellow. We'll try to update and see where they stand now.
Luis Garcia Jr. and Mark Blundell trying to catch up to the field so they can take the green flag with them. They went underneath the starter stand, and Mark Blundell finally has decided, apparently, I hope that was a radio communication.
No, I think Garcia just missed the corner, Paul, and Mark said, fine, thanks, I'll see you later. I need to get to the back of this field before we go green.
The field itself works its way down through the Esplanade chicane, then the left-hander brings them back in between the buildings. A series of turns that turn them further left and finally back onto the pit straight.
Well, once again, it's come down to fuel strategy. The guys at Pat Patrick taking a risk. It's come good for them many, many times in the past. They've brought their cars up now. Remember, Fernandez qualified back in 17th, Roberto Moreno back in 20th. Those 2 cars currently 1st and 3rd, and they are still alive in the championship. This may be absolutely brilliant, not only for today's race, but for the championship itself.
And Parker, if we can interject, just checking with the team for Pat Patrick Racing, the drivers who are first and third, they still need more yellow. They're getting it by the moment. Right now, they're figuring they're about 2.5 laps short of what they need to go, 65.
Moreno lost it coming out of the last corner onto the pit straight. He stood on the throttle. The car went left. He couldn't get it back. And that's the yellow that Adrian Fernandez was looking for. Just he didn't want it at the expense of his teammate.
Alex Barron almost lost it in front of him. Now watch Barron in the orange and white car. He catches it, and then Moreno loses it in exactly the same place. It might have been a little slick spot there.
Well, you've got to keep in mind, both of those cars powered by the same sort of engine, both coming up onto the power at about the same place. Barron modulated the throttle, got control of it, no problem. Moreno just got away from him, turned him right into the wall on the inside.
Jason Bright makes his stop, and
he's killed it, Paul, for now, trying to get it refired.
There's Jim McGee. So once again, McGee has tried to figure the game out. He is so good. You know, one of those, if you want to use the tried and true trite, wily old veterans who really knows the strategy of racing. Jim McGee is certainly one of those.
But Paul, how many owners have we talked to that base all their pit strategy on what Jim McGee does? They don't watch anybody else on the track. They just watch what Pat Patrick and Jim McGee do in the pits. Right now, with that move, Adrian Fernandez would move into second in the championship.
The Australians show their appreciation for Gold Coast native Jay from the accident. See, Tracy almost had to chock the brakes to keep from getting into the back of Kenny Breck. We are at a point here where this race may, in fact, well, Breck certainly got a bunch of debris. We're at a point where this may become a timed race before the whole thing is over. And Alex Barron sitting there in second place. Remember, the first race here was won by John Andretti, his only win in a champ car. Gary?
Checking with Kim and Barry Green for Paul Tracy, asked if there was concern about debris. They said they thought they were okay. They said from what they saw, they thought that Breck got most of the debris. They also were asking them about if they think this will become a timed race, and they're sharing that information with the crew. Looks like it may well come down to that.
Well, according to my calculations right now, we've got 19 laps to go, but we can only get 17, maybe 18 laps more in before we hit the 2-hour time limit.
And so interesting that the accident involving Moreno may work very definitely to the advantage of his teammate Fernandez. Jason Bright, you saw him climb out of the car. Thoughts at the conclusion of his first ride in the champ car, John?
Well, first of all, you did have a bird's eye view of what happened to those cars ahead of you. Was there a slick spot or something?
No, I think it was just cold tires. You know, everybody was sort of a little bit loose out of there, and Roberto unfortunately got turned himself around, and he was basically heading right over the left-hand side, and I knew that he might bounce back out, but I thought if we both stay on it, we're going to get through, and I didn't expect Max to hit the brakes. I was too busy looking at Roberto, and I didn't realise Max has hit the brakes so hard. So it's disappointing for the guys here. You know, we've got a lot of support this weekend from Bud, Skilled, and Gillette, and you know, it's disappointing for Della Penna.
It was a great ride. Congratulations on what was for a while a great ride.
Yeah, thanks, John.
So Jason Bright, he
tires up because to make to the end, we could have made it. Coming out of the corner, just the tires a bit too cold, lighten up when the turbo came in. I couldn't hold it.
As far as the championship is concerned, does this seal your fate, or are you still going to be optimistic going into this last race at Fontana?
Well, we're going to try everything we can, like we did here. We came from the back, we're all the way up to the front. The Vision team did again a great strategy work. Unfortunately, I wasn't up to it today, so it wasn't meant to be. We're certainly going to come back stronger the next race, and also next year somehow. It has been a great season for me. The Vision team has done a great job to put me up front there. I'm fighting on the championship to this point against drivers that have a lot more experience in this game than I have.
Thank you. We're back, Green.
green flag just comes out. Look at Paul Tracy weave left and right, and we got trouble again. This time it's Pappas. And Tracy's trying to get by. Oh, I want to see the officials sort that one out.
Well, we saw Pappas and Breck side by side with Tracy weaving in behind them. We did see Servia take the escape route again. He's very, very good at that.
And And look at the interval that created. Here it is again. Pappas losing it behind Kenny Breck. Tracy darts his way through, and then Pappas comes sliding out in front of him. You saw the back end kind of jump there, like Tracy may in fact have hit him.
Well, we don't know if Max had contact from behind on the way in there. I would assume he did, but right now, Tracy very, very fortunate to have gotten through there relatively unscathed. Oh! Paul says, yeah, whatever. Grass, curb, sky, doesn't make any difference. Now look, Oriole coming back.
Oriole Servia comes to the outside of Tracy. Here they come. Oh! And Servia takes Tracy out!
Nobody wants to win this championship, Paul.
Paul Tracy had done everything that he could, and then battling with Oriole Servia.
And we've seen many times this year, Servia just never gives up.
And remember, guys, that Servia, by the rules, should have given Tracy that position back much earlier than that.
Well, that's exactly it. Paul Tracy, thankfully, is okay. Now,
you can see Servia just got up over the curb, had lost directional control at that point. Paul doing what he's supposed to. He's on line where he needs to be. Servia spears him, puts him right into the wall. Paul now, I think, waiting for Servia to come around to give a little hand-to-cockpit communication. And Adrian Fernandez is saying, thank you so much for playing my game.
I'm wondering, you know, the nose now is totally destroyed, so we won't know, but it looks to me at this point like Tracy does already have some damage on the car.
But this is the point that Jan was making. We saw Servia go through, we saw Cristiano D'Amata go through, and rightfully Servia had to give that position back.
Exactly.
Now watch, Paul's still on line. We can see Servia and his teammate Cristiano D'Amata go through. I can't quite tell who that other car was that was in between. It looks like Luis Garcia Jr. perhaps. So at that point, he's got to get out of it. We can see Paul into the back of Max Pappas there on the way in. So we know what started that. Max very fortunate not to have heavier contact there.
Well, and the jump that I saw in the rear of the car was actually Max bringing the back end down off of the curbing.
Right. So, I mean, by all rights, Servia should have pulled over, given that position back to Paul, but instead he just spears Paul coming into the back chicane right there. Big contact for Paul Tracy.
Paul Tracy is a big guy, maybe the biggest guy in the series. Servia may be the second smallest in the series. Let's keep them separated in the pits.
Well, this would make a great WWF SmackDown, that's for sure.
And guys, there's a conversation taking place behind the pit wall. Kim Green has come down and is talking with the Cal Wells PPI team. Now Kim heads off toward his support garage paddock area, but another championship contender has fallen by the wayside.
But within the championship itself, Gil DeFerrin, as they would finish right now, still is going to go away from here with 153. That's a given. Adrian Fernandez is currently in second place in that championship. Paul Tracy is still sitting in third place in the championship, followed by Kenny and then Roberto Moreno, who is still right on the edge of the fight. We'll see. We have to get to the end of the race to find out. And then two, timed event. 2 hours is the rule. It looks like they're going to shift this to a timed event very shortly. Her official notification comes from race control with just 10 minutes to go. But what a most unusual day. Here is caution, the current standings with Fernandez on his way to a potential victory. Of course, all these laps of full course caution playing into that whole fuel strategy game of Adrian Fernandez. Jan Bikas.
With a very disappointed Barry Green, obviously. You saw the replays on the big screen. Your take on it?
Well, I mean, you know, a restart, tough place to pass, and I think Paul and Max might have gotten together to start it all, and you know, I don't know what exactly happened after that, but you know, Servia certainly finished him off. Tough day, you know, just really fighting an uphill battle. We had something go wrong with the throttle cable earlier on, and that put him off the track and out of the lead, and then it's been a fight all the way back, and I think it would have been it's too bad. We would have made some good points and still been in a strong position going into Fontana in a couple of weeks. Not out of it yet, but you know, obviously it's made it a lot harder.
But the way this race went, you must still have some hope for Fontana, because now we know anything truly can happen.
Oh, let me tell you, never count Team Cool Green out. We got one race, we got a bunch of points there, and you know, our cars are very fast there. So we'll be back a couple of weeks fighting hard.
Thank you, Gary. Gary?
Max Pappas back in his paddock area. This has been a season of so much frustration for you. Here's another incident when it looks like you've got an opportunity for one of your best finishes. Do you have any idea what happened when you got hit from behind?
Not really. No. This year, you know, it's really tough for the Miller guys. We've been doing a very good job today. The car was running very well. You know, was good enough to finish in the top 2 or 3. But looks like this year there is something bad. I don't know. Everything wrong can happen. It happened to us there.
Well, hopefully, one race to go. It'll somehow get better. He won the season opener. Maybe he wins the season ender.
Well, they're going to move Servia back in the field. They're going to move him back behind 7th place Cristiano D'Amata. Some of us are surprised it's not a more severe penalty than that, but they're moving him because he gained an advantage during those passes that culminated in the accident involving Paul Tracy. We'll be back right after these messages. Remember the next and final race, there's Gil de Ferran, who was out on the very first lap, but still leads the championship points watching the remainder of this race. Remember that Adrian Fernandez won a year ago at Fontana. The next and final race of the season, coverage on ESPN, is just 2 weeks from now at California Speedway. Gary?
Interesting radio conversation that pertains to the silly season and all the talk about who drives where next year. Cal Wells to Oriol Servia after Servia gets that penalty that sets him back in the order, now behind his teammate in car number 97, D'Amata. Oriol is told he's driving for someone else next year. You do what you have to do. Draw your own conclusions.
Whoa,
Wow. Yeah, baby.
No bitterness here. Fernandez, the great story behind Fernandez is going to be Barron. Green flag comes out.
Look at the jump he got on Barron.
Barron battles with Breck. He punts Breck to the right. All right, how you going to call that one, Parker?
Oh, well, back to you, Paul.
Well, Breck did pick up the advantage. He actually did the pass over there, don't you think?
Well, he had about a wheel ahead on the way in, but there was no place for him to go on the turn in. Be interesting to review that.
D'Amata tried to get in there, locks the brakes up, can't do it.
There's a huge problem going down there. It's easy to get on the crown of the road. The car bottoms. It's impossible to use the brakes there.
Race control is now saying to the teams on their radio frequency that Barron needs to be let back into second place by Kenny Breck. Part of the problem of that, look, there goes Fernandez. Jourdain lights him up. He just let him by, but there it is. But remember, the radio and telemetry communications aren't that good with all the built-up area and tall fences here.
Just before they made the right-hander, Kenny Breck did have a wheel on him. As they turned in, though, they were side by side. Breck got the advantage through the chicane. He had to let him go back through, but now
more pushing and shoving back there with Fittipaldi.
And look at Servia. Banner coming off of Vassar's car. We've only got, according to my watch here, Paul, about 11 minutes left. This is going to time out because there are 14 laps left in the race. We won't complete all 65. It will be a timed event. These drivers know they've got to try to get those passes done now before the field strings out. Fernandez finally leading some laps under green now. Alex Barron having the second best drive of his career. Remember, a couple of years ago, he took the Dan Gurney Eagle chassis to the lead at Vancouver. Fantastic run there, and also for Dale Coyne. Remember, their best finish was second at the US 500 several years ago with Roberto Moreno driving. Great drive for Barron and for Dale Coyne Racing.
Race control has just made it official. There are 10 minutes left in this race. It will be a timed race. All bunched together here in now the closing laps of the race. Fernandez, Alex Barron still in pursuit. What a day is it going to be for Dale Coyne if he can stay there.
And right now, the battle at the front is Ford, 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 Toyota, Toyota. Fernandez, Barron, and Breck first, second, and third, and then the Toyota of Serbia, the Toyota of Vassar. Serbia being extremely aggressive once again. We've seen him do this. As the season has gone on, he's gotten more comfortable in the car. Very, very impressive. Now look at Cristiano D'Amato right up behind the back of Jimmy Vassar.
Yellow just ahead. We're not sure what that one's for. Serbia still very aggressive. And D'Amato now coming in to work hard on Jimmy Vassar.
And this track has had the same sort of history of Cleveland, Detroit, where the last few laps in the closing moments, all sorts of very strange things happen. And Surfers is living up to that reputation once again.
Yeah, except it didn't wait for the closing laps. It started in turn 1.
Yeah, it got an early start this year.
Cristiano still working on Jimmy Vassar as hard as he can.
And that yellow, Paul, we've got a report that it was Christian Fittipaldi down the escape road. Everyone should be good on fuel, or you'll Serbia again. Once again, locking brakes, going in extremely deep. See the same for Mauricio Gugelmin.
Nobody's going to have any fronts left by the end of this thing.
Well, they've only got a few laps left at this point. It is just a flat-out sprint race. Every lap is qualifying now.
What a good and interesting run this has been. And its effect on the overall championship, taking it to the last race of the season at California Speedway. Oh, baby. And remember, a 500-mile race for Champ Cars. Kind of anybody's guess past the 200th mile. There's just so many things that can happen there. So many things that can affect the outcome of the race, as opposed to, say, a 200-miler or something at that approximate distance.
Oh, you can see Cristiano D'Amato trying to look down the inside, but he's got the same problem. As I've said many times, the roads are severely crowned here. If you get out to the middle to try to look down the inside, the car literally bottoms, becomes a big skateboard. The wheels come off the ground, you lock the brakes. At some point, you have no directional control of the car either, and you just become a passenger until the car comes off the ground and you can regain traction. Look at Alex Barron, Paul, though, holding position. Oh, no, he's slowed, Paul.
He slows down. Barron suddenly slows down right at the pit exit. Breck goes to second place. Oh, what could that be? What? Oh, Alex Barron, so deserving. Replaces Takuya Kurosawa in this car, originally assigned to it for the season, but then Kurosawa was injured, had a back injury. Gary Gerald?
Paul, it's so ironic. I had just asked Dale Coyne that we'd had a report on possible smoke from the car. Was it bottoming? He said no. He smiled, patted me on the head, and said, no, we're fine. Wasn't 5 seconds later you made the call. Now they're confirming it's a motor and engine problem. He is done.
And the reason that car is at an angle to the wall is Alex was simply trying to get it offline, trying to turn back around into the pit out so that they didn't have to go full course yellow. He just didn't quite get it turned all the way.
And they had also told him just prior to that he could use the overtake button. It was a timed race, do anything he could to challenge Fernandez.
What a shame. I mean, we've seen that now. Carpentier, Max Pappas, even Alex Barron. Things going very wrong. Bad karma, bad luck.
Here is one of the key battles now. Vassar and Serbia. The reason it is key because Jimmy Vassar needs to get around Serbia if he wants to stay alive in the championship fight. So Fernandez, Breck, Serbia, Vassar.
Remember, Jimmy won 2 weeks ago at Houston. A brilliant drive there. Serbia has been one of the most aggressive, one of the fastest cars on the circuit all day long. Jimmy's got his work cut out from him, and occasionally he's under attack from behind by Cristiano D'Amato. But I can tell you, Paul, if Serbia keeps locking those brakes, he's going to flat spot those tires to the point he will not be able to defend this position. But he's only got inside of about 6 minutes now to have to do that.
And right behind Vassar with D'Amato, Carpentier, Castroneves, they're all there.
And you could see that wasn't Jimmy looking to the inside of Serbia. That was Jimmy protecting his line from D'Amato from behind. Replay of Barron slowing down, coming down the pit straight. Kenny Breck, quick movement to the right to avoid him. Good bit of heads-up driving by Alex to get it offline and out of the way here.
Clock is counting with about 4.5 minutes left to go in the run. It is a timed race. And Jimmy Vassar just got Serbia. Now remember the host broadcaster down here, 10 Australia. And because only one race a year, perhaps not as attuned to some of those situations. But now Vassar is still in the championship.
And you'll watch Vassar pull away now, Paul.
What I want to watch is D'Amata and Serbia.
Because I can tell you that Serbia's got to be out of tires.
Gary Gerald.
With Alex Barron making this long, disconsolate walk back to be so close to a podium finish, a possible victory, to have this motor problem. What are you experiencing right now? I almost hate to ask, but I have to.
I'm lost for words. I don't really know what to say. I mean, we had a really good car. We had a really good car today, and the car was really comfortable. And you know, it's just a shame because the Sports Today car was running really good all weekend, and I mean, we really needed this. And for 4.5 minutes to go to the end of the race and have that happen, it's so discouraging. But just got to keep our heads up and go into Fontana.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, Cristiano D'Amata, maybe Serbia finally did wear those fronts out. Cristiano was able to get around him and is now pulling away. Carpentier is going to try to get Serbia next. Tarso Marquez tries to get everybody, misses them all.
Well, here's the pass. Jimmy Vassar down the inside of Serbia, times it perfectly and sticks it. Leaves absolutely no doubt that he's got that pass done so that Oriol can't come back on him and put Jimmy into the fence.
That was sweet. That was very pretty.
That's just nailing a pass there. It's exactly what you have to do.
Jimmy Vassar, the winner of the street race at Houston 2 weeks ago, a man without a ride for next year. And yet he's here in the middle of the championship fight, sitting in third place. And the championship right now, we started with 9. There's still 6 actively left in the fight.
And Paul, when things are going well for these guys, it's easy to find rides, easy to be on top of the world. The real trick in motor racing is being able to survive when things don't go well, as Carpentier is going through. Even Vassar at this point, he's definitely on the upswing. As you said, we've got DeFerrin at the top, Adrian in second, then a 2-way tie between Tracy and Kenny, and then Roberto Moreno and Jimmy Vassar tied back on the next level. So it's anybody's fight right now.
Kenny Breck, of course, looking for his first win in the series, already wrapped up the Rookie of the Year as Breck chases Fernandez. And next time by, the white flag should come out. Jim Swintel, the starter, just picks up the white flag, ready to present it to Adrian Fernandez when he comes around next time. Fernandez, Breck, Vassar, D'Amata. Vassar with that third place, if he can keep it, stays in the championship fight.
Fernandez won earlier in the year in Rio, but as you've said, Paul, significantly, remember, he won Fontana last year. That 500-mile race, 8 pit stops, all kinds of things can happen. But Fernandez, this is huge for the Pat Patrick team. Great pit strategy, and the car, as it has so many times this year, working perfectly during the race, just not during qualifying.
Of course, we are going to have the coverage of the 500 at California Speedway on ESPN just 2 weeks away now. Everybody will bring a calculator. Maybe even Parker will bring his old slide rule to try and keep track of that championship.
I'll bring a backup even.
Adrian Fernandez is now being told with the white flag that there is a single lap between him and victory. Kenny Breck recognizes
white flag, 1 to go.
That there is a single lap between him and his potential first victory.
Things have happened so out of the ordinary at Surfers. Remember, it wasn't too long ago that we saw 2 white flags at Surfers Paradise. Hopefully this will be the one and only.
Oh, don't go there.
Sorry.
Breck is closing in.
There's no way at this point, I think, Paul. I mean, Kenny has driven just fantastically all weekend long. You can see Fernandez checking his left mirror, though. There is some concern there. But he's got to be closer than this, and then he's got to be able to pull off the pass. A little defensive driving here goes a long ways. I think Vassar's also safe in his position.
Yeah,
Another fine run by Carpentier at this point. Now looking at the back of D'Amata.
No contest there. Vassar, D'Amata, Carpentier, Castroneves. Here is where the fight's going to be, and time and distance is running out. Already Jim Swintel, the starter, has picked up the checkered flag. Kenny Breck is right there, but he's running out of opportunity.
This will be the fourth podium of the year for the rookie champion. And if he's going to stick it, he's got to put it in right here, Paul. Coming into the final corner, turn 12. He's just got to dive bomb him, but he's not going to do it.
Adrian Fernandez makes the turn. Pit straight lies ahead. Twin checkered flags. And now we can say he's done it. I was afraid to mention it until that car was definitely over the line with the day we've had here.
Pretty good job there for not much front there on the right front. Good job, buddy. Good drive.
Adrian Fernandez takes the victory. Interesting race at Surfers Paradise, Australia. The championship goes on to the California Speedway in 2 weeks, a 500-miler. And anything, as we know, in the Kart FedEx Series can happen at a 500-mile distance. They're the current point standings. So the battle continues on, and it is gonna be a fight. No question about that, owing to the time constraints of the race running long. We're not going to be able to talk with Adrian Fernandez. I can assure you he is going to be very, very happy. 2 weeks, California Speedway, the 500. Coverage comes on ESPN. Don't forget, too, RPM tomorrow at noon. You'll hear all that Adrian Fernandez and the rest have to say. Sports Center is coming up next. Congratulations to Patrick Racing and Adrian Fernandez, the winner at Surfers Paradise.
Better luck throughout this year. Along, Dale Jr. passing him on the high side, which was the fast groove. 21 to go. Jeff Gordon spot shadowed in 26th, hitting behind him. Martin and Bobby Hamilton touch and spin. How does Gordon not get taken out? Hopeful would struggle. Elio Castro Neves with a tire problem. The left rear is going down. That is trouble. A change would do him good. And they got that thing off of there. He'd finish in 6th. Lap 36, Kart's top rookie was rolling. Kenny Breck charging into the lead at Surfers Paradise, but lap 36, he's charging into the pits. Lap 39, more problems for a contender. Michael Andretti, a serious engine problem. I would say so. The car's on fire. He would finish in 20th. Caution came out. He's okay. Lap 41, a whole lot of pitting going on. Jimmy Vasser in while leading. Most of the field also in, except for Adrian Fernandez. Tied for 4th in the standings, stayed out. Could he make it on fuel? Lap 44, it's a moot point because his teammate, Roberto Moreno, botches the restart, and he is into the wall. He would finish in 19th position, and Fernandez got the long caution he needed. Lap 48, more restarts, more problems. Fernandez up front, behind him, mayhem. Max Pappas loose in front of Tracy, who was back in the hunt. Tracy, a great piece of driving to get around Pappas. Then he's battling Oriol Servia, the rookie, for 4th in a drag race to the chicane. And Servia is going to give him a little bit of what for. Unintentional, but he misses the chicane and punts Tracy. As you can imagine, Tracy was not pleased. More on that a little bit later. And by the way, about Servia, reportedly, Cal Wells told Servia over the radio after this incident that his services were no longer required for next year. He was fired during the race. Final lap. The white flag is out. Adrian Fernandez's crew likes what they see. What they see is their guy up front, outrunning Kenny Breck to the checkers. And the whole crew says, Viva Mexico, as Fernandez takes the win. He spoke to Gary Gerald.
In the jubilation here, the Premier is here to make a presentation to Adrian Fernandez. We'll get a quick word here before he does that, and they take you to the podium. When this day started, 17th position on the grid, did you have any inkling that you could be within 5 points of the championship lead?
No, no way. I tell you what, it's we struggle all week and we haven't been able to qualify, but I tell you, the Patrick team never gives up, and we stayed on track. And I had a big moment one time with Max where he really squeezed me to the wall when I had him pass and things like that. And but you know, at the end we stayed there. We took a gamble, and you know, we stay on the track, we stay clean, and this is fantastic. Winning Australia is just the best thing.
And going to Fontana, where you reign as the defending champion, how much confidence are you going to take into that race 2 weeks from today?
I think, you know, Fontana, that's one of our races. We know how to race those races, and I think we're looking good for the championship.
So the Premier is here to offer his congratulations. The trophy follows. Adrian Fernandez in the thick of a championship shootout in 2 weeks.
Fernandez with his second win of the year, 7th of his career. He goes from 5th to 2nd in the standings. Kenny Brack matching his best finish of his rookie season. Jimmy Vasser gets his 2nd straight podium, but mathematically he is eliminated from the championship hunt, and it's all about points right now.
We did good pit strategy, not as good as Adrian's team though, however, but we drove hard and we had a very good pit strategy, so I think that everything came together, but the bottom line was we had a car today that was really under me, and I could use it to overtake people in the restarts and stuff like that, and I can't thank my guys enough. It's going to be interesting now for Fontana.
I'm not so frustrated is that, you know, I just don't understand it. You know, I'll get a ride somewhere in some series, but, you know, some of these guys really drive crazily, and they're never going to win championships driving like that, that's for sure.
Tony Kanaan got his 6th top 10 of the year. Serbia, the rookie, has 5 top 10s in his last 7 races and now needs a gig. Mark Blundell matching his best finish in his last 6 races. Paul Tracy, needless to say, was not happy with Serbia.
What are you going to say, you know? I think he knows what happened. I mean, I had the line into the corner, and he went over the curb and hit me in the side, and it's championship contender. And, you know, what else? What are you going to say to the guy? You know, he knows what was up and made a mistake. I guess he got penalized for whatever was going on out there, but you know, it doesn't help us and it doesn't help him.
Now, Jimmy Vasser's tied for 5th in points, but he doesn't have the tiebreaker, so he is out of the championship chase. All these guys are looking for their first title. DeFerrin's best season finish was 2nd in 97. Adrian Fernandez, a career best 4th in points in 98. Paul Tracy's been 3rd 3 times. Kenny Brack, of course, a series rookie. More on the kart championship chase later in the show. The Aussie aftermath still to come on RPM. Also coming up.
Took the champ cars of the FedEx Series just a couple hundred yards to turn the race at Surfers Paradise, Australia into one of the most interesting we've seen in some time, and a very crazy day. The very first turn took out the prime contender in the points fight, but contenders continued to fall by the wayside throughout the day. Let's begin by going to Jan Bigas.
Well, Paul, certainly when Gilles de Ferran ran into trouble, you would think it would have been a banner day for Paul Tracy. He could have capitalized on it, but of course we know that Paul Tracy, his car here, in a state of rubble after the race. Now, you talked about that accident on the very first turn. What we would have liked to have done was go to the front of Paul Tracy's car and see if there are any tire marks, see if there was really contact with Juan Montoya. But if you look across here, you can see this is the remnant of Paul Tracy's nose after that heavy contact with Oriol Serbia, so we will never know. Certainly we know that Paul Tracy called in on the radio and said he did not make contact with Juan Montoya, but that was just the first of many, many incidents that unfortunately Paul Tracy was not able to capitalize on. Gary?
Yeah, when this day started, I think the only people up and down pit road who wanted the championship to end today were in the camp of the one man who could end it today, Gilles de Ferran. And of course, that wasn't the case. So everybody now is elated with the fact that you go to a season-ending championship showdown. And maybe no one is more elated than Adrian Fernandez. Consider that when this day started, he was 26 points off the pace, virtually on the brink of elimination. Suddenly now, with the win, with the points that he's accumulated, he is only 5 points back going to Fontana. And remember, he won there last year. He takes the confidence and the momentum of what happened a year ago in a chase for $1 million prize to win the race, $1 million bonus if he can win the championship. A year ago, we saw Montoya come from 7, 8, 9 points back on race day at Fontana and win a championship. Adrian Fernandez will now try to do the same thing in 2 weeks.
Well, one thing is absolutely certain, Gary Gerald, and that is that a 500-miler is entirely different than any other race because of the distance, and so many things, Parker, can happen in those extra 300 miles.
So you've got a minimum of 8 pit stops. You mentioned mechanical problems. You can get caught up in other drivers' incidents. Then there's fuel strategy. And don't forget at Fontana, we're going to have the drafting battle with the Hanford device. But from the driver's perspective, if the car's not right, you're helpless. There's nothing you can do. It's come down to a one-race championship. And as Gary said, for one driver, at least $1 million, if not $2 million, could be at stake.
So how will it come down? 500 miles at California will tell the story.
And we'll be there in Fontana when CART wraps up its 2000 season and crowns the champion, the 500, on our family of networks. ESPN has it. October 29th, that's a Sunday. RPM is at the track in California all weekend. 2 weeks from now, make your plans accordingly. Still to come, the Truck Series is wrapped up.
performance rubber compound and dual-layer tread. Even as it wears down, wet performance stays up. Better cornering, quicker stops. Get wet performance that lasts with Unity AQ. Bridgestone, a grip on the future.
When was the last time you spent 10 hours trying to do your job 1 second faster?
Hold your brake. Reset your fuel. Go, go, go. Good job, Oriole.
Where the heck is everybody? I'm glad you asked. The success of 3Play from ESPN.com has been tremendous. And now on one of these Nokia mobile phones, you can play just about anywhere. For example, at the country club, dining al fresco, going out to the Hamptons. 3Play from ESPN.com. It's free. It's sports. Give me the briefcase. It's money.
Presented by Nokia Mobile Phones and Southwestern Bell.
Well, the twin yellow flags continue to fly at the starter stand. It is continuing as a full course caution while they get the debris from Roberto Moreno's car, who really caught the wall pretty good. Barron had saved it and kept going, and then Moreno wasn't able to do it. Watch the third car in a row there. There's Barron's loss of it, and then Moreno, once he lost it, it almost climbed the wall. And as we watch it again from another angle, a couple of things to consider. Paul Tracy was right there. Might have had a problem with debris from the accident. See, Tracy almost had to chock the brakes to keep from getting into the back of Kenny Breck. We are at a point here where this race may, in fact, well, Breck certainly got a bunch of debris. We're at a point where this may become a timed race before the whole thing is over. And Alex Barron sitting there in second place. Remember, the first race here was won by John Andretti, his only win in a champ car. Gary?
Checking with Kim and Barry Green for Paul Tracy. Asked if there was concern about debris. They said they thought they were okay. They said from what they saw, they thought that Breck got most of the debris. They also were asking them about if they think this will become a timed race, and they're sharing that information with the crew. Looks like it may well come down to that.
Well, according to my calculations right now, we've got 19 laps to go, but we can only get 17, maybe 18 laps more in before we hit the 2-hour time limit.
And so interesting that the accident involving Moreno may work very definitely to the advantage of his teammate Fernandez. Jason Bright, you saw him climb out of the car. Thoughts at the conclusion of his first ride in the champ car, John?
Well, first of all, you did have a bird's eye view of what happened to those cars ahead of you. Was there a slick spot or something?
No, I think it was just cold tyres. You know, everybody was sort of a little bit loose out of there, and Roberto unfortunately turned himself around, and he was basically heading right over the left-hand side, and I knew that he might bounce back out, but I thought if we both stay on it, we're going to get through, and I didn't expect Max to hit the brakes. I was too busy looking at Roberto, and I didn't realise Max has hit the brakes so hard. So it's disappointing for the guys here. You know, we've got a lot of support this weekend from Bud, Skilled, and Gillette, and you know, it's disappointing for De La Pena.
It was a great ride. Congratulations on what was for a while a great ride.
Yeah, thanks, John.
So Jason Bright, he finds himself out a little bit prematurely. Again, this country has just absolutely incredible natural beauty. Full course caution. We'll be back.
From the 1930s through the 70s, men and women worked hard to keep America strong in shipyards, powerhouses, and construction throughout New York. They were unaware of the silent killer, asbestos, that gave many of them mesothelioma, lung cancer, or asbestosis. If you are an asbestos victim or a surviving relative, call Weitz and Luxembourg at 1-888-411-LAWS for a consultation and booklet. Weitz and Luxembourg, setting the standard in asbestos litigation for over a decade.
These pretzels are making me thirsty. Window Factory is famous for quality. We guarantee, what? The best selection, the best quality, the best service, and the best price, guaranteed. Window Factory, Voice Road, Carl Place. Get here now.
It's college hoops time, baby. I love it.
Get ready for the season with my college basketball preview from ESPN the magazine. I'll give you my picks and pans for the run to March Madness. Pick it up on newsstands now. It'll be awesome, baby.
Inspector Shanahan knew he was close. 13 years in the game, battles in the corners, big game goals, raising 2 cups. He saw things so clearly now. He stuck to the clues and followed the tracks of the skate blades right to the scene. He pointed towards his suspect, for it was the goalie who did it all along.
Blues, Red Wings, Tuesday at 7:30 on ESPN2.
Back at Surfers Paradise, Australia, on the beautiful Gold Coast, Gary Gerald.
With Roberto Moreno. Roberto, tell us what happened here as you're anticipating getting back up to speed.
Basically, I had to save a lot of fuel. I couldn't warm the tires up because to make to the end, we could have made it. Coming out of the corner, just the tires a bit too cold, lighten up when the turbo came in. I couldn't hold it.
As far as the championship is concerned, does this seal your fate, or are you still going to be optimistic going into this last race at Fontana?
Well, we're going to try everything we can, like we did here. We came from the back, we're all the way up to the front. The Vision team did, again, a great strategy work. Unfortunately, I wasn't up to it today, so it wasn't meant to be. We're certainly going to come back stronger the next race and also next year somehow. It has been a great season for me. The Vision team has done a great job to put me up front there. I'm fighting on the championship to this point against drivers that have a lot more experience in this game than I have.
Thank you. We're back green.
Green flag just comes out. Look at Paul Tracy weave left and right, and we got trouble again. This time it's Pappas. And Tracy's trying to get by. Oh, I want to see the officials sort that one out.
Well, we saw Pappas and Breck side by side with Tracy weaving in behind them. We did see Servia take the escape route again. He's very, very good at that.
And look at the interval that created. Here it is again. Pappas losing it behind Kenny Breck. Tracy darts his way through, and then Pappas comes sliding out in front of him. You saw the back end kind of jump there, like Tracy may in fact have hit him.
Well, we don't know if Max had contact from behind on the way in there. I would assume he did, but right now Tracy very, very fortunate to have gotten through there relatively unscathed. Paul says, yeah, whatever. Grass, curb, sky, doesn't make any difference. Now look, Oriole coming back.
Oriole Servia comes to the outside of Tracy. Here they come. Oh! And Servia takes Tracy out.
Nobody wants to win this championship, Paul.
Paul Tracy had done everything that he could, and then battling with Oriole Servia.
And we've seen many times this year, Servia just never gives up.
And remember, guys, that Servia, by the rules, should have given Tracy that position back much earlier than that.
Well, that's exactly it. Paul Tracy, thankfully, is okay. Now,
you can see Servia just got up over the curb, had lost directional control at that point. Paul doing what he's supposed to. He's on line where he needs to be. Servia spears him, puts him right into the wall. Paul now, I think, waiting for Servia to come around to give a little hand-to-cockpit communication. And Adrian Fernandez is saying, thank you so much for playing my game.
I'm wondering, you know, the nose now is totally destroyed, so we won't know, but it looks to me at this point like Tracy does already have some damage on the car.
But this is the point that Jan was making. We saw Servia go through, we saw Cristiano D'Amata go through, and rightfully Servia had to give that position back. Now watch, Paul's still on line. We can see Servia and his teammate Cristiano D'Amata go through. I can't quite tell who that other car was that was in between. It looks like Luis Garcia Jr. perhaps. So at that point, he's got to get out of it. We can see Paul into the back of Max Pappas there on the way in. So we know what started that. Max very fortunate not to have heavier contact there.
Well, and the jump that I saw in the rear of the car was actually Max bringing the back end down off of the curbing.
Right. So, I mean, by all rights, Servia should have pulled over, given that that position back to Paul, but instead he just spears Paul coming into the back chicane right there. Big contact for Paul Tracy.
Paul Tracy is a big guy, maybe the biggest guy in the series. Servia may be the second smallest in the series. Let's keep them separated in the pits.
Well, this would make a great WWF SmackDown, that's for sure.
Hey guys, there's a conversation taking place behind the pit wall. Kim Green has come down and is talking with the Cal Wells PPI team. Now Kim heads off toward his support garage paddock area, but another championship contender has fallen by the wayside.
Yeah, but within the championship itself, Jill DeFerrin, as they would finish right now, still is going to go away from here with 153. That's a given. Adrian Fernandez is currently in second place in that championship. Paul Tracy is still sitting in third place in the championship, followed by Kenny and then Roberto Moreno, who is still right on the edge of the fight. We'll see. We have to get to the end of the race to find out. And then to timed event. 2 hours is the rule. It looks like they're going to shift this to a timed event very shortly. Her official notification comes from race control with just 10 minutes to go. But what a most unusual day here in beautiful Surfers Paradise. They're going to talk about this one for a long time, and we'll be back hopefully with another restart in just a moment.
For years, Honda engineers have developed the ultimate in racing technology. Innovations that have brought them manufacturers' championships, the respect of the entire racing world, and of course, groupies. Fortunately,
Go!
this same technology goes into every Honda we build.
Now this is the fierce snake, the most venomous snake in the world. One bite from him and it's all over. Yo! Oh, no worries, mate. Luckily, we've had the anti-venom sent from America via FedEx. In my line of work, if you're not absolutely sure, you're absolutely dead. Oh, crikey. It appears we've used a different courier who hasn't arrived yet. It's okay because...
When it's wet, Bridgestone worn tires can perform longer with this breakthrough. Unity AQ Advanced Tire Technology. Like a tire inside a tire. With extended performance rubber compound and dual layer tread. Even as it wears down, wet performance stays up. Better cornering. Quicker stops. Get wet performance that lasts with Unity AQ. Bridgestone, a grip on the future.
Man, that sandwich was good. Is there another one? Well, yeah, but we're saving it for Dale. I'll be right back.
When you get that craving for Wendy's bacon mushroom melt.
Hey, Dave, you having fun? Yeah. Why don't you stay out a few more laps? Okay.
With 3 strips of bacon and mushrooms and a cheddar cheese sauce, it's impossible to resist.
Now, where's that sandwich?
Wendy's bacon mushroom melt. When you gotta have one, you gotta have one.
Daryl, I'm kind of hungry. I hope no one ate my lunch.
Surfers Paradise still full course caution. The current standings with Fernandez on his way to a potential victory. Of course, all these laps of full course caution playing into that whole fuel strategy game of Adrian Fernandez. Jan Pikus.
With a very disappointed Barry Green, obviously. You saw the replays on the big screen. Your take on it?
Well, I mean, you know, a restart, tough place to pass, and I think Paul and Max might have gotten together to start it all, and you know, I don't know what exactly happened after that, but you know, Servia certainly finished him off. Tough day, you know, just really fighting an uphill battle. We had something go wrong with the throttle cable earlier on, and that put him off the track and out of the lead, and then it's been a fight all the way back, and I think it would have been, it's too bad. We would have made some good points and still been in a strong position going into Fontana in a couple of weeks. Not out of it yet, but you know, obviously it's made it a lot harder.
But the way this race went, you must still have some hope for Fontana, because now we know anything truly can happen.
Oh, let me tell you, never count Team Cool Green out. We got one race, we got a bunch of points there, and you know, our cars are very fast there, so we'll be back a couple of weeks fighting hard.
Thank you, Gary. Gary?
Max Pappas back in his paddock area. This has been a season of so much frustration for you. Here's another incident when it looks like you've got an opportunity for one of your best finishes. Do you have any idea what happened when you got hit from behind?
Not really. No. This year, it's really tough for the Miller guys. We've been doing a very good job today. The car was running very well. Was good enough to finish in the top 2 or 3, but looks like this year there is something bad. I don't know. Everything wrong can happen. It happened to us there.
Hopefully, one race to go. It'll somehow get better. He won the season opener. Maybe he wins the season ender.
Well, they're going to move Servia back in the field. They're going to move him back behind 7th place Cristiano D'Amata. Some of us are surprised it's not a more severe penalty than that, but they're moving him because he gained an advantage during those passes that culminated in the accident involving Paul Tracy. We'll be back right after these messages.
Put the food down, walk away, nobody gets hurt.
Let's get him! I got him!
Think you're tough enough to drive a Tacoma?
Give me back!
Join the club. Introducing the double cab with over 5 feet of bed length.
You just can't mess with a man's salad. Word up.
Okay, DJ, I'm ready for you. What's the game?
Aussie boomerangs.
Boomerangs? I think I prefer football.
So what are you doing here?
I came here for the big juicy steaks. How about you?
I want that shrimp on the Barbie.
Let's go eat.
Outback Steakhouse. No rules, just right. Outback Steakhouse.
They're back.
This is an ordinary cell phone. This is Nextel, and it's going to change the way you do business thanks to Direct Connect, its digital two-way radio feature. Frank? Not yet. It ensures instant contact. Bridget?
Got it.
Cost a fraction of cellular. It just passed. And it makes other cell phones...
Ready now.
Obsolete.
Direct Connect from Nextel. How business gets done.
Buy a Nextel Internet-ready phone starting at $99.99 and get an identical phone free.
ESPN Speed World coverage of the Kart Grand Prix of Australia has been brought to you by Honda, proud sponsor of the 2000 FedEx Championship Series. By FedEx, proud sponsor of the FedEx Championship Series. And by Bridgestone, a grip on the future. We're waiting for the green flag to come out. The field formed up behind Adrian Fernandez. Remember the next and final race? There's Gil de Ferran, who was out on the very first lap, but still leads the championship points watching the remainder of this race. Remember that Adrian Fernandez won a year ago at Fontana. The next and final race of the season, coverage on ESPN, is just 2 weeks from now at California Speedway. Gary?
Interesting radio conversation that pertains to the silly season and all the talk about who drives where next year. Cal Wells to Oriol Servia after Servia gets that penalty that sets him back in the order, now behind his teammate in car number 97, D'Amata. Oriol is told he's driving for someone else next year. You do what you have to do. Draw your own conclusions.
Whoa,
Servia.
wow.
Yeah, baby.
No bitterness here. Fernandez, the great story behind Fernandez is going to be Barron. Green flag comes out.
And look at the jump he got on Barron.
Barron battles with Breck. He punched Breck to the right. All right, how are you going to call that one, Parker?
Oh, well, back to you, Paul.
Well, Breck did pick up the advantage. He actually did the pass over there, don't you think?
Well, he had about a wheel ahead on the way in, but there was no place for him to go on the turn in. Be interesting to review that.
D'Amata tries to get in there, locks the brakes up, can't do it.
There's a huge problem going down there. It's easy to get on the crown of the road. The car bottoms. It's impossible to use the brakes there.
Race control is now saying to the teams on their radio frequency that Barron needs to be let back into second place by Kenny Breck. Part of the problem of that, look, there goes Fernandez. Jourdain lights him up. He just let him by, but there it is. But remember, the radio and telemetry communications aren't that good with all the built-up area and tall fences here.
Just before they made the right-hander, Kenny Breck did have a wheel on him. As they turned in, though, they were side by side. Breck got the advantage through the chicane. He had to let him go back through, but now
more pushing and shoving back there with Fittipaldi.
And look at Serbia. Banner coming off of Vassar's car. We've only got, according to my watch here, Paul, about 11 minutes left. This is going to time out because there are 14 laps left in the race. We won't complete all 65. It will be a timed event. These drivers know they've got to try to get those passes done now before the field strings out. Fernandez finally leading some laps under green now. Alex Barron having the second best drive of his career. Remember a couple of years ago, he took the Dan Gurney Eagle chassis to the lead at Vancouver. Fantastic run there, and also for Dale Coyne. Remember their best finish was second, the US 500 several years ago with Roberto Moreno driving. Great drive for Barron and for Dale Coyne Racing.
Race control has just made it official. There are 10 minutes left in this race. It will be a timed race. All bunched together here, and now the closing laps of the race. Fernandez, Alex Barron still in pursuit. What a day is it going to be for Dale Coyne if he can stay there.
And right now, the battle at the front is Ford, 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 Toyota, Toyota. Fernandez, Barron, and Breck first, second, and third, and then the Toyota of Serbia, the Toyota of Vassar. Serbia being extremely aggressive once again. We've seen him do this. As the season has gone on, he's gotten more comfortable in the car. Very, very impressive. Now look at Cristiano D'Amato right up behind the back of Jimmy Vassar.
Yellow just ahead. We're not sure what that one's for. Serbia still very aggressive, and D'Amato now coming in to work hard on Jimmy Vassar.
And this track has had the same sort of history of Cleveland, Detroit, where the last few laps in the closing moments, all sorts of very strange things happen. And Surfers is living up to that reputation once again.
Yeah, except it didn't wait for the closing laps. It started in turn one.
Yeah, it got an early start this year.
Cristiano still working on Jimmy Vassar as hard as he can.
And that yellow, Paul, we've got to report that it was Christian Fittipaldi down the escape road. Everyone should be good on fuel, or you'll Serbia again. Once again, locking brakes, going in extremely deep. See the same from Mauricio Gugelmin.
Nobody's going to have any fronts left by the end of this thing.
Well, they've only got a few laps left at this point. It is just a flat-out sprint race. Every lap is qualifying now.
What a good and interesting run this has been. And its effect on the overall championship, taking it to the last race of the season at California Speedway. Oh, baby. And remember, a 500-mile race for Champ Cars. Kind of anybody's guess past the 200th mile. There's just so many things that can happen there. So many things that can affect the outcome of the race, as opposed to, say, a 200-miler or something at that approximate distance.
Oh, you can see Cristiano D'Amato trying to look down the inside, but he's got the same problem. As I've said many times, the roads are severely crowned here. If you get out to the middle to try to look down the inside, the car literally bottoms, becomes a big skateboard. The wheels come off the ground, you lock the brakes. At some point, you have no directional control of the car either, and you just become a passenger until the car comes off the ground and you can regain traction. Look at Alex Barron, Paul, though, holding position. Oh, no, he slowed, Paul.
He slows down. Barron suddenly slows down right at the pit exit. Breck goes to second place. Oh, what could that be? Oh, Alex Barron, so deserving. Replaces Takuya Kurosawa in this car, originally assigned to it for the season, but then Kurosawa was injured, had a back injury. Gary Gerald?
Paul, it's so ironic. I had just asked Dale Coyne that we'd had a report on possible smoke from the car. Was it bottoming? He said no. He smiled, patted me on the head, and said, no, we're fine. Wasn't 5 seconds later you made the call. Now they're confirming it's a motor and engine problem. He is done.
And the reason that that car is at an angle to the wall is Alex was simply trying to get it offline, trying to turn back around into the pit out so that they didn't have to go full course yellow. He just didn't quite get it turned all the way.
And they had also told him just prior to that he could use the overtake button. It was a timed race, do anything he could to challenge Fernandez.
What a shame. I mean, we've seen that now. Carpentier, Max Pappas, even Alex Barron. Things going very wrong. Bad karma, bad luck.
Here is one of the key battles now. Vassar and Servia. The reason it is key because Jimmy Vassar needs to get around Servia if he wants to stay alive in the championship fight. So Fernandez, Breck, Servia, Vassar.
Remember, Jimmy won 2 weeks ago at Houston. A brilliant drive there. Servia's been one of the most aggressive, one of the fastest cars on the circuit all day long. Jimmy's got his work cut out from him, and occasionally he's under attack from behind by Cristiano D'Amata. I can tell you, Paul, if Servia keeps locking those brakes, he's going to flat spot those tires to the point he will not be able to defend this position, but he's only got inside of about 6 minutes now to have to do that.
And right behind Vassar with D'Amata, Carpentier, Castroneves, they're all there.
And you could see that wasn't Jimmy looking to the inside of Servia. That was Jimmy protecting his line from D'Amata from behind. Replay of Barron slowing down, coming down the pit straight. Kenny Breck, quick movement to the right to avoid him. Good bit of heads-up driving by Alex to get it offline and out of the way here.
Clock is counting with about 4.5 minutes left to go in the run. It is a timed race. And Jimmy Vassar just got Servia. Now remember, the host broadcaster down here, 10 Australia. And because only one race a year, perhaps not as attuned to some of those situations. But now Vassar is still in the championship.
And you'll watch Vassar pull away now, Paul.
What I want to watch is D'Amata and Servia.
Because I can tell you that Servia's got to be out of tires.
Gary Gerald.
With Alex Barron making this long, disconsolate walk back to be so close to a podium finish, a possible victory, to have this motor problem, what are you experiencing right now? I almost hate to ask, but I have to.
I'm lost for words. I don't really know what to say. I mean, we had a really good car. We had a really good car today, and the car was really comfortable. And you know, it's just a shame because the Sports Today car was running really good all weekend, and I mean, we really needed this. And for 4.5 minutes to go to the end of the race and have that happen, it's so discouraging. But just got to keep our heads up and go into Fontana.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, Cristiano D'Amata, maybe Servia finally did wear those fronts out. Cristiano was able to get around him and is now pulling away. Carpentier is going to try to get Servia next. Tarso Marquez tries to get everybody, misses them all.
Well, here's the pass. Jimmy Vassar down the inside of Servia, times it perfectly and sticks it. Leaves absolutely no doubt that he's got that pass done so that Oriol can't come back on him and put Jimmy into the fence.
That was sweet. That was very pretty.
That's just nailing a pass there. It's exactly what you have to do.
Jimmy Vassar, the winner of the street race at Houston 2 weeks ago, a man without a ride for next year. And yet he's here in the middle of the championship fight, sitting in third place. And the championship right now, we started with 9. There's still 6 actively left in the fight.
And Paul, when things are going well for these guys, it's easy to find rides, easy to be on top of the world. The real trick in motor racing is being able to survive when things don't go well, as Carpentier is going through. Even Vassar at this point, he's definitely on the upswing. As you said, we've got DeFerrin at the top, Adrian in second, then a 2-way tie between Tracy and Kenny, and then Roberto Moreno and Jimmy Vassar tied back on the next level. So it's anybody's fight right now.
Kenny Breck, of course, looking for his first win in the series, already wrapped up the Rookie of the Year as Breck chases Fernandez. And next time by, the white flag should come out. Jim Swintel, the starter, just picks up the white flag, ready to present it to Adrian Fernandez when he comes around next time. Fernandez, Breck, Vassar, D'Amata. Vassar, with that third place, if he can keep it, stays in the championship fight.
Fernandez won earlier in the year in Rio, but as you've said, Paul, significantly, remember, he won Fontana last year. That 500-mile race, 8 pit stops, all kinds of things can happen. But Fernandez, this is huge for the Pat Patrick team. Great pit strategy, and the car, as it has so many times this year, working perfectly during the race, just not during qualifying.
Of course, we are going to have the coverage of the 500 at California Speedway on ESPN. Just 2 weeks away now. Everybody will bring a calculator. Maybe even Parker will bring his old slide rule to try and keep track of that championship.
I'll bring a backup even.
Adrian Fernandez is now being told with the white flag that there is a single lap between him and victory. Kenny Brack recognizes
white flag, 1 to go.
That there is a single lap between him and his potential first victory.
Things have happened so out of the ordinary at Surfers. Remember, it wasn't too long ago that we saw 2 white flags at Surfers Paradise. Hopefully this will be the one and only.
Oh, don't even. Don't go there.
Sorry.
Brack is closing in.
There's no way at this point, I think, Paul. I mean, Kenny has driven just fantastically all weekend long. You can see Fernandez checking his left mirror, though. There is some concern there. But he's got to be closer than this, and then he's got to be able to pull off the pass. A little defensive driving here goes a long ways. I think Vassar's also safe in his position.
Yeah,
Another fine run by Carpentier at this point. Now looking at the back of D'Amata.
No contest there. Vassar, D'Amata, Carpentier, Castroneves. Here is where the fight's going to be, and time and distance is running out. Already Jim Swintella starter has picked up the checkered flag. Kenny Brack is right there, but he's running out of opportunity.
This will be the 4th podium of the year for the rookie champion. And if he's going to stick it, he's got to put it in right here, Paul. Coming into the final corner, turn 12. He's just got to dive bomb him, but he's not going to do it.
Adrian Fernandez makes the turn. Pit straight lies ahead. Twin checkered flags. And now we can say he's done it. I was afraid to mention it until that car was definitely over the line with the day we've had here.
Pretty good job there for not much front there on the right front. Good job, buddy. Good drive.
Adrian Fernandez takes the victory. Interesting race at Surfers Paradise, Australia. The championship goes on to the California Speedway in 2 weeks, a 500-miler, and anything, as we know, in the Kart FedEx Series can happen at a 500-mile distance. They're the current point standings, so the battle continues on, and it is gonna be a fight. No question about that. Owing to the time constraints of the race running long, we're not going to be able to talk with Adrian Fernandez. I can assure you he is going to be very, very happy. 2 weeks, California Speedway, the 500. Coverage comes on ESPN. Don't forget, too, RPM tomorrow at noon. You'll hear all that Adrian Fernandez and the rest have to say. Sports Center is coming up next. Congratulations to Patrick Racing and Adrian Fernandez, the winner at Surfers Paradise.
This is